Christ's mighty name. Hopefully, everybody's having a wonderful day today. God bless everybody. Yes, Jehovah God's good. Jesus Christ is amazing. Don't forget Jehovah God first in all things in Jesus Christ's mighty name. So we're going to start off at Revelations 13. I'm going to start off at Revelations 12:12. So it says, on this account, on this account, be glad, you heavens, and you who reside in them. Woe to the earth and for the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great anger, knowing that he has a short period of time. Now when the dragon saw that, now when the dragon saw it had been hurled down to the earth, it persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the two wings of the great eagle were given to the woman so that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is to be fed for a time and a times and a half and a for a time and a times and a half a time away from the face of the serpent. Excuse me, let me turn on the light real quick. On this account, be glad, you heavens, and you who reside in them. Woe to the earth and for the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great anger, knowing that he has a short period of time. Now, when the dragon saw that it had been hurled down to the earth, it persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the two wings of the great eagle were given to the woman so that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is to be fed for a time and a times and a half a time away from the face of the serpent. That is 3.5 times. And the serpent spewed out water like a river from its mouth after the woman to cause her to be drowned by the river. But the earth came to the woman's help, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river that the dragon spewed out from its mouth. So the dragon became enraged at the woman and went off to wage war with the remaining ones of her offspring, her seed, who observe the commandments of God and have the work of bearing witness concerning Jesus. So the dragon became enraged at the woman and went off to wage war with the remaining ones of her offspring, who observe the commandments of God and have the work of bearing witness concerning Jesus. And it stood still on the sand of the sea, and I saw a wild beast ascending out of sea, and 10 horns and 7 heads, and its horns 10 diadems, but on its heads blasphemous names. Now the wild beast that I saw was like a leopard, but his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth was like a lion's mouth. And the dragon gave the beast its power and its throne and great authority. I saw that one of its heads seemed to have been fatally wounded, but its mortal wound had been healed, and all the earth followed the wild beast with admiration. And they worshipped the dragon because it gave the authority to the wild beast, and they worshipped the wild beast with the words, who is like the wild beast, and who can do battle with it. It was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and it was given authority to act for 42 months. And it opened its mouth in blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his dwelling place, even those residing in heaven. It was permitted to wage war with the holy ones and conquer them, and it was given authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. And all those who dwell on the earth will worship it. From the founding of the world, no one of their names has been written in the scroll of life of the Lamb who was slaughtered. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is meant for captivity, he will go into captivity. If anyone will kill with the sword, he must be killed with the sword. This is where it calls for endurance and faith on the part of the holy ones. Then I saw another wild beast ascending out of the earth, and it had 2 horns like a lamb, but it began speaking like a dragon. It exercises all authority of the first wild beast in its sight, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first wild beast whose mortal wound was healed. And it performs great signs, even making fire come down out of heaven to the earth in the sight of mankind. It misleads those who dwell on the earth because of the signs that it was permitted to perform in the sight of the wild beast, while it tells those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the wild beast that had the sword stroke and yet revived. And it was permitted to give breath to the image of the wild beast, so that the image of the wild beast should both speak and cause to be killed all those who refuse to worship the image of the wild beast. It puts under compulsion all people, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free and the slaves, for these should be marked on their right hand or on their forehead, and that nobody can buy or sell except a person having the mark, the name of the wild beast, or the number of its name. That is where it calls for wisdom. Let one who has insight calculate the number of the wild beast, for it is a man's number, and its number is 666. Then I saw and look the Lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, who have his name and the name of his Father written on their foreheads. I heard a sound coming out of heaven like a sound of many waters, and like the sound of loud thunder. And the sound I heard was like singers who accompany themselves by playing on their harps. And they are singing what seems to be a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to master that song except the 144,000 who have been brought, who have been bought from the earth. These are the ones who do not defile themselves with women. In fact, they are virgins. They are the ones who keep following the Lamb no matter where he goes. These were brought from among mankind as firstfruits to God and to the Lamb, and no deceit was found in their mouths. They are without blemish. And I saw another angel flying in mid heaven, and he had everlasting good news to declare to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation and tribe and tongue and people. He was saying in a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of judgment by him has arrived. So worship the one who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and the springs of water." A second angel followed, saying, "She has fallen. Babylon the Great has fallen. She who made all the nations drink of the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality." Another angel, a third, followed, saying in a loud voice, "If anyone worships the wild beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink of the wine of the anger of God that is poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the sight of the holy angels, in the sight of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and day and night they have no rest. Those who worship the wild beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. Here is where it calls for endurance on the part of the holy ones, those who keep commandments of God and hold fast to the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice out of heaven say, "Right, happy are the dead who die in union with the Lord from this time onward." Yes, says the Spirit, let them rest from their labors, from from the things they did go right, for the things they did go right with them. I'm gonna repeat that. And I heard a voice out of heaven say, "Right, happy are the dead who die in union with the Lord from this time onward. Yes, says the Spirit, let them rest from their labors, for the things they did go right with them." Then I saw and looked a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was someone like a son of man, with a golden harp on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Another angel emerged from the temple sanctuary, calling with a loud voice. Hello. Calling with a loud voice. Excuse me. Where we at? Another angel emerged from the temple sanctuary, calling from a loud voice to the one seated on the cloud, put your sickle in and reap, because the hour has come to reap, for the harvest of the earth is fully ripe. And the one seated on the cloud thrust his sickle into the earth, and the earth was reaped. Goodbye. Where's the camera? I can read better with the camera off. And the one seated on the cloud thrust his sickle into the earth, and the earth was reaped. And still another angel emerged from the temple sanctuary that is in heaven, and he also had a sharp sickle. And still another angel emerged from the altar, and he had authority over the fire. And he called out with a loud voice to the one who had the sharp sickle, saying, "Put your sharp sickle in and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for its grapes have become ripe." The angel thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth, and he hurled it into the great winepress of God's anger. The winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress as high up as the bridles of the horses, for a distance of 1,600 stadia, or 1,600 stadia. That's about 296 kilometers, 184 miles. I think I drove that yesterday. I think that's how much it was. A stadium equaled 185 meters, 606.95 feet. Those numbers right there, 606.95 feet, has something to do with Babylon, because that's when the year it happened. Something 606, something 607. Revelations 15, and I saw in heaven another sign, or yes, and I saw in heaven another sign, great and wonderful, seven angels with seven plagues. These are the last ones, because by means of them the anger of God is brought to a finish. And I saw something like a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who are victorious over the wild beast and its image and the number of its name were standing by the sea of glass, holding harps of God. They were singing the song of Moses, the slave of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, "Great and wonderful are your works, Jehovah, God the Almighty. Righteous and true are your ways, King of eternity. Who will not really fear you, Jehovah, and glorify your name? For you alone are loyal. For all the nations will come and worship before you, because your righteous decrees have been revealed." After this, I saw and the sanctuary of the tent of the witness was opened in heaven, and the seven angels with the seven plagues the sanctuary emerged from the sanctuary, clothed with clean bright linen and with golden sashes wrapped around their chests. One of the four living creatures gave the seven angels seven golden bowls that were full of the anger of God, who lives forever and ever. And the sanctuary became filled with smoke because of the glory of God. Anything filled with smoke is in the Bible is glory of God. And because of his power, and no one was able to enter the sanctuary until the seven plagues of the seven angels were finished. I'm going to repeat that verse. And the sanctuary became filled with smoke because of the glory of God and because of his power. And no one was able to enter the sanctuary until the seven plagues of the seven angels were finished. And I heard a loud voice out of the sanctuary say to the seven angels, "Go and pour out the seven bowls of anger of God on the earth." The first one went off and poured out his bowl on the earth, and a hurtful and malignant, malignant, malignant ulcer afflicted the people who had the mark of the wild beast. So I guess they got ulcers, the people that had the mark of the wild beast and who were worshiping its image. The second one poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became blood like that of a dead man, and every living creature died. Yes, the things in the sea. The third one poured out his bowl into the rivers and the springs of water, and they became blood. I heard the angel out over the water say, "You, the one who is and who was the loyal one, are righteous, for you have issued these judgments, because they poured out the blood of the holy ones and the prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. They deserve it." And I heard the Almighty say, "Yes, Jehovah God, the Almighty, true and righteous are your judgments." The fourth one poured out his bowl on the sun, and to the sun it was granted to scorch the people with fire. And the people were scorched by the great heat. But they blasphemed the name of God, who has the authority over these plagues, and they did not repent and give glory to him. The fifth one poured out his bowl on the throne on the wild beast, and its kingdom became darkened, and they began to gnaw their tongues because of their pain. But they blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their ulcers, and they did not repent of their works. The sixth one poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the rising of the sun. And I saw three unclean, inspired spirits at, that looked like frogs come out of the mouth of a dragon, and out of the mouth of the wild beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. They are, in fact, expressions inspired by demons, and they perform signs, and they go out to the kings of the entire inhabited earth to gather them together to war, to the war of the great day of God the Almighty. I'm gonna repeat that. They are, in fact, expressions inspired by demons, and they perform signs, and they go out to the kings of the entire inhabited earth to gather them together to the war of the great day of God the Almighty. Look, I'm coming as a thief. Happy is the one who stays awake and keeps his outer garments, so that he may not walk naked and people look upon his shamefulness. And they gathered them together at the place that is called the Hebrew Armageddon. The seventh one poured out his bowl on the air. At this, a loud voice came out of the sanctuary from the throne, saying, "It has come to pass." And there were flashes of lightning and voices and thunders, and there was a great earthquake like any that had occurred, like unlike any that had occurred since men came to be on earth. So extensive and so great was the earthquake, the great city split into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and Babylon the Great was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of the fury of his wrath. Also, every island fled, and mountains were not found. Then great hailstones, each about the weight of a talent, 20.4 kilograms, fell from heaven on the people, and the people blasphemed God because of the plague of hail, for the plague was unusually great. In Jesus Christ's mighty name. You have a wonderful, wonderful Friday.